I used to build things. Chairs. Houses. Even families. 42 years I worked as a carpenter, the kind with calloused hands and a Bible in his glove box. Folks in town used to call me Mr. Tom, even when I told them to drop the Mr. I built most of the porches in this town, and half the benches in Memorial Park. Every 4th of July, they'd light fireworks right above that old gazebo I built with my bare hands. I carved my initials under one of the floorboards. No one ever found them. I had 4 kids. 2 boys, 2 girls. All grown now. All busy. Busy being busy, mostly. Once they left, they never really came back. Except for Christmas. And even that stopped after my wife died. Her name was Mary. She was the kind of woman who knew when to smile and when to sit in silence. We were married 46 years. She passed in her sleep 3 winters ago, on a Tuesday. I remember because the snow fell sideways that day, like it was confused which way to land. After the funeral, everyone told me how strong I was being. Strong. No. I was empty. There's a difference. The house still smells like her lavender lotion sometimes. It tricks me. I catch myself turning my head like she just walked past. Some nights I still say goodnight out loud. Old habits die slower than people. The dinner table we used to sit at had 6 chairs. Now there's just 1. The others I gave away or broke down for firewood. You'd think that would be sad, but it wasn't. It was practical. My daughter, Lisa, once asked me why I didn't downsize. Downsize what? I asked. Your life, Dad. The house, the stuff. Make things easier. I wanted to tell her that every inch of this place holds a piece of me. That I didn't just build this house, I breathed it. That every creaking stair and scratched wall had a story. That the pantry still had a height chart in pencil where I marked every inch of their childhoods. But I didn't say any of that. I just nodded. Because when you're over 70, and your hair's turned silver and your hands don't close all the way from arthritis, people stop listening. They nod before you even speak. They hear old and think done. The last time they all came over was 2 years ago, for Thanksgiving. Lisa brought that tofu turkey thing. Said it was healthier. I sat at the head of the table, like always. Except they kept their eyes on their phones. Every time I tried to speak, someone would interrupt with a joke, a meme, a kid needing juice. Nobody asked me about the war. Or the business I lost in '91. Or how I met their mother. They talked around me, not to me. After dessert, Lisa said, Dad, maybe next year we'll host. You've done enough. I looked at the empty wine glass in front of me. I poured myself another and said nothing. Done. No. I was still breathing. I just wasn't needed anymore. That night I sat on the porch, alone, wrapped in Mary's old quilt. I could still hear the kids laughing as they left. I watched the taillights fade down the gravel road, red smudges against the dark. And I felt it, not sadness. Not even anger. Disappearance. Like I had become a ghost in my own story. Like I was still in the room, but nobody saw me. And then the wind whispered something I hadn't thought in years. You were more than their father. I don't usually go to doctors. Not because I think I'm invincible, I just don't like being talked down to. Most young doctors these days think anyone with white hair is half a vegetable. They talk to you in that fake gentle tone like you're already halfway in the grave. But I'd been getting dizzy spells. A few falls. Bruises I couldn't explain. So Lisa made the appointment for me. Just to be safe, she said. Dr. Patel couldn't have been more than 35. Slick hair. Expensive watch. Shoes with no scuff marks. He typed more than he spoke. Barely looked at me. After the exam, he said, Your blood pressure's erratic, Mr. Reynolds. You need to rest more. Have someone help you with shopping. You live alone, right? Yes. He nodded, like he expected that. Do you have someone to check in on you? Children, maybe. I have children, I said. But do they check in? I paused too long. He leaned forward, with this pitying smile. You know, there are some excellent assisted living communities just outside of town. You'd have company. Support. Stability. I blinked. I built my house with these hands, I said. Stability's not my issue. He laughed lightly, like I made a joke. I didn't laugh. On the drive home, I didn't turn on the radio. Just silence and the hum of tires. Assisted living. Support. Check-ins. I remembered when I used to carry all 4 kids on my shoulders, 2 up front, 2 in back. They called me Daddy Mountain. Now someone thinks I can't even carry a grocery bag. I remembered the Christmas I worked 4 shifts in a row just to buy Lisa her first camera. Or the time I sat by James' hospital bed after his asthma attack, night after night, reading him cowboy stories until he could breathe without fear. I remember the life of giving. And now, what? A bed in a building where strangers wipe your mouth and call you sweetie. I felt something harden in my chest. Not a heart attack. Something colder. That evening, I called Lisa. Doctor says I should be monitored, I told her. Silence. Well, maybe that's true, she finally said. You offering? I asked. Dad, I have the kids. And Brian's work schedule is insane. You know how it is. Sure, I said. I know how it is. You could come live with us for a while. But it might be crowded. We don't really have a spare room. I looked around at my house. 4 bedrooms. 2 bathrooms. A deck with a view of the river. Crowded. I'm fine here, I said. Okay. Just be careful, Dad. She hung up first. Later that night, I opened Mary's old recipe book. She used to write little notes in the margins. Tom loves this one. Double the garlic. Lisa wouldn't eat this unless it had ketchup. I ran my fingers over her handwriting like it could bring her back. Then I stared at my reflection in the kitchen window. The outline of a man with tired eyes and shoulders that once carried mountains. They didn't see me anymore. My children. The doctor. The world. But I saw me. And something inside whispered. You're not done. I started waking up earlier. Not because I had somewhere to be. I just wanted to beat the silence before it settled in too deep. There's a kind of stillness that comes with age, it doesn't knock, it sips. And if you're not careful, it becomes part of you. So I fought it. Not loudly. Not with fists. Just deliberately. The day after the doctor's visit, I went to the shed and pulled out my old toolbox. Still smelled like sawdust and stubbornness. My fingers didn't bend the way they used to, but they remembered. I started small, sanding down an old rocking chair. One of the legs was loose. Mary used to read in that chair. Rocked every night like she was waiting for someone. Maybe she was. After that, I built a birdhouse. Then another. By the end of the week, I had 6. I painted them all bright red. Hung them on the fence along the edge of the property. The next morning, 2 cardinals had already moved in. Smart birds. A few days later, I saw the neighbor boy, Ethan, riding his bike past my driveway. He stopped and stared at the birdhouses like they were magic. You make those? He asked. Sure did. Cool. The next day, he was back, this time with a notebook. Can you show me how? So I did. We spent hours sawing, painting, hammering nails crooked and fixing them again. He called me Mr. T like it was a secret code name. I liked it better than Dad, it said with guilt. His mother came by once, nervous. Ethan isn't bothering you, is he? He's learning, I said. She looked surprised. Then grateful. The thing about people is, they forget what's in front of them when they think it has no use. But skill, real skill, doesn't die. It waits. And mine had waited long enough. That week I started writing again. Nothing fancy. Just thoughts. Memories. Lessons I knew wouldn't fit in a birthday card. I wrote about how to fix a hinge that squeaks no matter what you do. How to sharpen a blade. How to say sorry without making it about yourself. I left them on the kitchen table. Then I started cooking again. Not the microwave crap they tell old people is easy. Real food. Stew like Mary used to make. Cornbread that didn't crumble in your hand. I even made a pie. Burned the crust. Still ate it. That night, I looked around my empty house and didn't feel quite so empty. Lisa called. Just checking in, she said. You okay? I'm building birdhouses, I told her. A pause. Birdhouses. Yup. Red ones. She laughed. It wasn't mocking. Just surprised. I didn't know you still did that. I almost told her I never stopped. That she just stopped seeing. But instead I said, maybe I'll make one for the kids. They'd love that, she said, quieter now. Maybe. That night, I stood on the porch again. Same quilt. Same view. But something was different. I realized I hadn't thought about the doctor's words all day. Or the pity in Lisa's voice. I wasn't waiting for someone to visit. I was living again. Not for them. For me. Because somewhere between building birdhouses and teaching a boy how to use a hammer, I remembered something no doctor could prescribe. I still had purpose. And that scared them more than my age ever could. It was a Tuesday when I decided to call them. All of them. Lisa. James. David. Emma. 4 children. 4 missed birthdays. 4 different excuses. I didn't call to ask for help. I didn't mention the doctor, or the falls, or the silence that lived in my walls like a second skin. I just said, I'm cooking dinner this Sunday. I'd like you to come. They all hesitated in their own ways. Lisa asked, is something wrong? James said, that's kind of short notice, Dad. Emma asked if she could bring her dog. David didn't pick up at all. Just texted back, we'll try. But I wasn't asking for convenience. I was asking for a moment. One moment. For them to sit at the table I built. The one with 6 chairs. The one that once held birthdays and casseroles and elbows on the wood. They didn't know it yet, but this wasn't just dinner. It was a mirror. And I was going to hold it up. Sunday came. I cooked all day. Mary's meatloaf. My cornbread. A peach cobbler that didn't burn this time. I even used the good plates. The ones with the gold trim we only use for holidays. By 6 o'clock, they started arriving. Lisa came first, with that tired smile she always wore when guilt outweighed love. James showed up alone. No mention of his wife. Emma brought her dog. It peed on the rug. David arrived last, wearing sunglasses indoors and smelling like airport cologne. They sat at the table awkwardly, like it was a courtroom. Eyes scanning each other, not meeting mine. The only thing louder than the silence was the clink of forks against plates. So, I said finally, how's life? They talked. Mostly about work. Stress. School pickups. Mortgage rates. A vacation someone might take next year. They didn't ask about me. Not once. Halfway through dinner, I stood up. Quietly. No dramatics. I walked over to the counter and picked up a stack of papers. Set them gently at the center of the table. What's this? Lisa asked. Lessons, I said. Things I've written. About your mother. About this house. About me. James flipped through a few pages. Is this like a memoir? Call it whatever you want, I said. David raised an eyebrow. You planning on going somewhere? I looked him in the eye. No. But you already did. The room went still. Lisa spoke first. Dad, that's not fair. Isn't it? I said. Because fair would have been one phone call on my birthday. Fair would have been asking if I was okay after your mother died. Fair would have been remembering who built the table you're eating at. Emma shifted uncomfortably. You said this was just dinner. It is, I said. But sometimes, dinner is where truth lives. I sat back down. Calm. Solid. Not angry. Just awake. They didn't say much after that. But they read the papers. One by one. Quietly. Stories from their childhood. Moments they had forgotten. Pain they had never seen. Love they had never acknowledged. And something shifted. Not in them, yet. In me. Because for the first time, I wasn't begging to be seen. I was showing them who they lost when they stopped looking. After dessert, they left. Not quickly. Not comfortably. But differently. Lisa hugged me tighter than usual. David said nothing, but he lingered at the door. James asked if he could borrow the papers to read again later. Emma apologized for the dog. And I stood at the door, watching them disappear into their separate lives. And I felt it. Not satisfaction. Control. Not over them. Over my story. Because I was no longer waiting to be remembered. I was reminding them. A week passed after the dinner. No calls. No text. Just the usual silence. But I wasn't waiting anymore. I had already spoken my truth, not in anger, but with the kind of calm that echoes louder than rage. And now I wanted to leave something behind. Not for pity. For memory. So I wrote the letter. Not to them. To the lawyer. I walked to the small office on Main Street, where my old friend Rick still worked. We served together back in Nome. Now he filed real estate forms and drafted wills for people who thought they had time. Didn't expect to see you here, Tom, he said, standing up. I need to make some changes, I told him. We sat in his back room, just us and a dusty old fan spinning slow. Same beneficiaries as before, he asked. No. He looked up. I'm leaving the house to the town. To turn into a community workshop. For kids who want to learn real skills. Carpentry. Woodwork. Mechanics. The things that build this country. He blinked. Your kids. They have homes, I said. They have degrees and careers and new granite countertops. What they don't have is roots. And you can't inherit what you've already abandoned. He didn't argue. Just nodded. I signed the papers. The next day, I made copies of the new will and mailed one to each of them. No note. No explanation. Just the document, with one sentence highlighted in yellow. Legacy is not what you take, it's what you leave standing. Then I went back to my work. Built 2 more birdhouses. This time, blue ones. Taught Ethan how to use a level. Let him mess up twice before showing him the trick. I ate alone. But it wasn't loneliness anymore. It was clarity. 3 days later, the calls came in. Lisa first. Dad, what is this? Her voice shook. My legacy, I said. You're giving the house away. I'm giving it back. To strangers. To someone who might sit at the table and know what it means. Silence. She started crying. James called next. Less emotional, more confused. Are you punishing us? No, I said. I'm freeing you. From the obligation to pretend you care. And freeing myself from needing it. Then came David. Of all of them, I expected him to yell. To argue. to guilt. But instead, he said quietly, "You were right. We forgot. Not on purpose. But we did." I didn't answer. "Dad," he paused. "Can we visit?" "Of course," I said. But I didn't clear the calendar. That night, I sat outside with a cup of coffee and the sound of birds returning to their red and blue houses. I thought about Mary. About how she used to say, "Sometimes, kindness is letting people live with what they chose." And that's what this was. Not revenge. Memory. Message. Mirror. Let them read it. Let them sit with it. Let them wonder when the love stopped, and realize it never did. They just stopped noticing. I didn't expect them to come back. But I left the porch light on anyway. Not out of hope, out of habit. Weeks passed. The seasons began to change. The leaves turned that burnt orange Mary always loved. I lit the fireplace again. Sharpened my tools. Read old letters I hadn't looked at in years. I laughed once. Out loud. Just me and the silence. And you know what? It laughed back. Ethan still visited. Every Saturday. He'd knock on the door, covered in paint and curiosity. We built a full workbench together. He carved his initials into the side. I didn't stop him. It made me smile. He asked me what mortise and tenon meant, and I told him it meant something lasts when it's fit right and made with care. He said, "Like people." I looked at him and said, "Sometimes. But people, you can't always choose the wood." He didn't get it. That was okay. Then one morning, the car pulled into the drive. Lisa. She stood there with a casserole in shaking hands. The kids stayed in the car. "I didn't come to take anything," she said. "I just came to sit." So we sat. Didn't talk much. Just looked out across the yard. The birdhouses had faded in the sun, but still stood. She finally asked, "Was I really that blind?" I answered softly, "No. You just never turned around." She started crying. I didn't move. Didn't reach for her. I let the silence do the work. Because some things can't be taught, they have to echo. Over the next few months, the others trickled in. James brought me an old photo he found. Was fishing when he was 10. Emma asked to learn how to make Mary stew. David, he just sat beside me one night on the porch, eyes glassy, both of us pretending we weren't waiting for the other to speak. But I didn't forgive them. Because there was nothing left to forgive. Just people finding their way back to something they should have never left. When winter came, I mailed out my final letters. To the city council, confirming the deed transfer for the house and land. To the high school, offering the tools and workshop for student use. To Ethan, a single envelope with 3 words. "It's yours now." And finally, one letter to each of my children. Not bitter. Not dramatic. Just this. This house was never made of wood. It was made of time, sacrifice, and silence. You didn't lose it. You left it. I'm not angry. I just finally stopped waiting. No love, Dad. No signature. Just truth. I still wake up early. Still drink my coffee black. Still talk to Mary sometimes. But now, there's a stillness that holds no ache. A quiet earned, not endured. Because I did not scream. I did not beg. I did not chase. I simply stood still long enough for the truth to settle around me like snow, soft, cold, undeniable. And when they remember me, as they will, they'll remember the man who built houses, yes. But more than that. They'll remember the man who stopped knocking.
Subscribe and like. And tell your friends about this video.